Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. Today, I have a special guest. This is Carla. She is Carla Being Crafty on Flosstube. I really enjoy her channel. She's very upbeat. We've got a chance to stitch together a few times via the Zoom meetup, so it's been really cool. And she may be the reason why I have ordered a diamond painting and started a diamond painting. So down the rabbit hole. Anyways, so I will put a link down below for you to go check out her Flosstube channel. But how are you doing today, Carla?
I'm good. I got off early a little bit from work, so that's always
nice. It's always a bonus. Yep, and you got to jump in and see everybody on the Zoom meetup, and then we jumped into the interview, so it worked out nicely.
And it's my birthday week.
Oh, I had that in my notes too. Dang it! I was gonna say happy birthday because it's your birthday week. So we are recording in your birthday week. It won't go up for a little while, but everybody wish her a belated happy birthday when this comes out. So we'll jump into the questions. The first one is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
Okay. I have my glasses on because I, of course, made notes and I can't see them without my notes.
Me too. That's me too.
I was thinking, oh, I won't wear them. I'll look better. And then I'm like, I can't see my notes if I do that. So basically, I started Flosstube because this is a little backstory. In 2016, 2017, I went through a really devastating, unexpected divorce. And it just kind of pulled the rug out from under me, and I had a lot of, just a lot of stuff to deal with. And I started watching YouTube during that time when I was alone, and I started watching like makeup videos and stuff, and I was really fascinated with the idea of YouTube. And I kept thinking like, it would be fun to do a channel, but I just didn't think that I had anything to contribute. There was nothing that I could talk about that anybody would care about, because I'm not a good enough cook to have a cooking channel. I'm not good enough at doing makeup to have a makeup channel and all that kind of stuff. And then I started doing diamond painting. So I started watching diamond painting videos after I moved to the apartment I'm in now, because I had a little bit more room to actually do that kind of stuff. That kind of led me to Flosstubers. And then in March, I started stitching, which is a whole story in and of itself. And once I started stitching, I was like, hey, Flosstube is kind of a community.
Yep.
I need a community. And they seem like I don't have to be an expert. Like, I can get on and talk about what I'm doing and people would be interested. So I thought about it for seriously months. I think I bought a tripod 4 or 5 months before I actually did my first video. And I just like every weekend I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this weekend. And then I wouldn't. And I finally, got up the courage to do it, and had, not like, thousands of viewers immediately, but I had people who subscribed and people who commented, and it made me feel really good, which was something that I needed at that time. And, it took off. And that's something that I just wanted to say for anybody who thinks about possibly doing a Flosstube and you're scared and you're whatever. Everybody was. And my advice is pick a couple of Flosstubers that you love their channel, that you maybe want to emulate what their channel success has been, and go back and watch their first video. They were nervous. They stuttered. They tripped over their words. They didn't know what they were doing. And, you can see it in everybody's first video, but, you do it for 1 or 2 months and you're an expert. So, nobody should ever allow their negative self-talk to stop them from doing Flosstube.
That is definitely amazing advice. I try to say, that's a good piece of advice, or just practice. Do a couple practice videos. It doesn't automatically upload. It saves to whatever device you're, recording on. But yeah, the community is just amazing and so welcoming. Even if you're super nervous, give it a chance.
And I think that what the Flosstube community likes is people going on and just being themselves. Yep. You don't have to know what you're doing with the technology. You don't have to really be able to edit. Yep. You just have to get on and talk about the craft, that everybody is there because everybody loves it. And I think that that's people want to see you. People, it's just a means to have like stitchy get-togethers virtually, really.
Yep.
You don't have to be an expert.
I think it's neat how there's different communities. Like I just learned in one of the other interviews that I've done that there's like a booktube community, and then we've got our stitching community, and there's knitting, and I mean there's all different communities on YouTube that are just so welcoming and accepting. So
yeah. And it's kind of cool when they cross over too, when somebody does diamond
Both
painting and stitching, or has a booktube and a stitching thing. I think that's kind of cool.
Well, that's kind of what you do, is you kind of merge yours into your videos too, which is really
yeah. Because I have fingers in a bunch of different pies, so I might as well show them if I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Makes
it more interesting. That's what it is. And it also brings us down other rabbit holes, thanks to you. Like diamond painting. So the next question is a subscriber question, and they were just wondering if you have a blog.
I have a blog. It's not a stitchy blog. Going back to the whole, my life was turned upside down. I started a blog after my husband left, just to deal with all the feelings that I was having. And I haven't actually updated on it since I started doing Flosstube, because that kind of became my outlet. And I was at the point where I wasn't having all of those feelings that I needed to write about. But I mean, if anybody's interested either in my history, or if you're going through something like what I went through, my blog is there to kind of just, empathize, or to show you what I went through. So, I mean, it's me on the page, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the crafting, except for at the very end of the blog is when I first started stitching, and I first started my Flosstube, and I kind of like mentioned the last thing, like, hey, I started this new thing and I really am having a good time.
And come find me there. Well, we can put a link down below in the description box, to it, if anybody has gone through what you've gone through and want somebody to reach out to, that would be great. I think people like that. So.
It's on WordPress. Yep. It's Carla Uncorked on WordPress.
Okay. Yep. I'll definitely put a link down below, just so people can check it out for sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
Very cool. So the next question is, how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
Technically, I've been cross stitching for just a little over a year. I started in March, but it's not like I never had a needle and floss in my hand. I had. I grew up. My mom was a really prolific needle pointer and crewel embroidery.
Oh, wow.
So I learned how to do those very early, but I don't think I ever completed a project, but I enjoyed it. I never really liked crewel embroidery. I just didn't. I like the way it looks, and I wanted to like it, but I just didn't. And I tried stamp cross stitch one time, and I hated it so much. It was just awful. But I did like plastic canvas in the 80s with my mom when it was all popular, and that's kind of how I got into cross stitch, because I got a plastic canvas project for my mom, and I thought she would be able to do it. This was like last Christmas 2018-ish time. I didn't really get it for the holidays, but that was around the time I got it for her. And she really loved it, but she didn't think she could do it. So she asked me to stitch it for her. And it was these little squares. It was a cat tote, and these little squares. And I was stitching on like one a night after I finished diamond painting. And I realized I really enjoyed the stitching. So I decided to I'll just get a little needlepoint kit and a little counted cross stitch to see what it's like. And that was it once I got them. And that was, I received them from Amazon on March 10th, 2019.
Oh, wow.
So
that was the official kind of start date right there.
Yep. And now I have 25 whips, and
it doesn't take long at all.
I know, it's crazy,
It does not take long at all. Oh my gosh. So that kind of leads into, since you have all those whips, what is the favorite project that you've stitched on so far?
Well, I know this is a cheesy answer, but really my favorite is like whatever I'm doing at the moment. But if I have to go back and look at things that are a little bit more significant, I did this one. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it.
There you go.
And I designed this. I mean, I don't know if you want to even call it designing it. It was just kind of a technique that I wanted to do, and it's called, well, kintsugi is an art form, a Japanese art form with pottery, where broken pottery is like rejoined with precious metals. And the idea of it is that the rejoining of it makes it stronger and more beautiful. And so that concept really spoke to me, and I thought it could be interpreted in a cross stitch, but you know, these are all different fabrics that I stitched together. And then I just stitched the heart, and then I like used Kreinik to like make the seam or whatever.
And that the Kreinik looks like it really sticks out on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
It's like
okay.
a star. And I mean, that's the point of it. So what it says is, it says more beautiful for having been broken, stronger because there are scars. And
I love that.
So I like that concept. And then most recently, my most recent favorite project is the one that I just finished, which is the Blue Flowers Gathering Honey, which I changed colors and I did it on my own dyed fabric and stuff, but.
Wow, that is really pretty. I love the fabric.
Yeah, this fabric turned out really good. And it's funny because I'm like not really a yellow person, but
I think it works real well for the background of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it just came out. And of course I had to change all the colors because I usually change all the colors because I don't usually buy, not that I don't buy stuff, but I don't usually buy stuff because the project tells me to. So I kind of use what I have. And
yep, I do the same. I don't ever use called for. Well, sometimes colors, but not fabric. So the next question is, what do you enjoy most about stitching?
I think it's just the being creative thing. I've always been somebody that, I think I'm a frustrated artist, and like if I had my life to live over again, I really think that I would have gone into some kind of more art-based, you know, career. But you know, it's not something I really knew about myself when I was younger, except I did theater, which is also kind of art, creative stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like it's being creative and making art, and you know, that's, if I go too long without doing something, I always get into things, but this seems like it's sticking the longest, you know, like I'm not getting sick of it after a year. And part of that I think is because of Flosstube.
Yeah,
I have, you know, a following that is interested in what I'm doing. So
Yep. So it kind of keeps you motivated and keeps you going, keeps you interested because you want to keep them interested.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't want to let people down, you know. It's like I have to work on some stuff this week because I want to show it on Sundays, you know. So, and when I do start working on something, I always enjoy it. Sometimes I don't feel like picking it up. You know, I feel like I'm a blob and I'm lying on the couch. But once I open that bag and make myself get the needle out, then I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's the same, like, you know, if you're really, really tired, you know, I don't think I can, you know, I don't think I can do it. But once you get started, like, you forget that you're tired, or you forget that you're stressed. That's what stitching does, and it's awesome.
I mean, everybody says that it's relaxing, and it is. I find it like physically relaxing, but I kind of find it mentally stimulating because I can stitch and it'll be 11:30 and I'm not, I mean, I was tired when I started, but I'm not, like, I have to make myself put it away because I know I have to go to sleep, you know, and I'm just enjoying it. So I feel like it's mentally stimulating. It's keeping my mind young and active, you know.
Yep. It's an amazing, amazing hobby. It just has all sorts of great things about it. So the next question is, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
I think they're kind of different. Books, I tend to like cozy mysteries and, you know, some classics and stuff. And there's some books I read To Kill a Mockingbird probably every year. And, but basically I kind of like cozy mysteries that I don't have to think too hard, and they're just entertaining. And then as soon as they're over, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I like the Harry Potter series I love. So that kind of thing too, but really my typical read is a cozy mystery. And then movies, I like comedies and musicals, and I like to escape. I like sci-fi a little bit, like not every sci-fi, but definitely the Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter.
Yep, that kind of, it's still an escape. Yeah. So that leads into what fictional place would you most like to go?
Well, I thought about this a lot. And so the three that I came up with is, I think I would love to be at Hogwarts if I had all the skills.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a squib and be there. But if I was, I think I would love to be in the garden, in the secret garden. It's always been like that fantasy garden. I don't want to take care of it. I don't like gardening.
Just be in it.
And I would like to be on the Enterprise, the next generation Enterprise. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to be a non-military personnel person. Like I would like to run the cross-stitch shop on the Enterprise. But there's got to be some kind of like hobby shop on the Enterprise, right?
That would be cool. Yeah. Why not? They have to get bored. That's something to do.
Or the art gallery or something,
that would be really neat. I didn't think about that. So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Well, I think I have to say I kind of would like to be able to go back in time and have the body that I had 15, 20 years ago, because I've just, as I've gotten a little bit older, I have really bad arthritis in my knees and my back, and I can't do stuff the way I used to. Like, I can't really do anything without thinking about what the physical part of it will be. Like, I can't stand in line for like ever. I can't do it. And so there's things that I would love to go to Disneyland with my niece and nephews, and I don't know that I could, because I don't know that it would be enjoyable, because I just couldn't walk around as much as I used to, and that kind of thing. So, it's not a specific thing that I'd want to do, but I just want to be able to do whatever I want to do. And I can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally understand. I have the aches and the pains and the arthritis and everything, and it would be nice to be able to go hike with my husband. Like, I try to go hiking, and with all the health stuff that I have going on, it takes me twice as long and brings him down slower. So I totally get that. That would be the best thing ever if we could just go back in time and be able to be our bodies to be younger again.
Yeah, and I mean, I never was very athletic or anything, but I remember going to Disneyland with my brother, and we were both trying to lose weight at the time. So we kept like crossing the park. That was our thing to get in a lot of exercises. We do something on one side of the park and then cross the park to go to the other side, and then Yep. And I think about that now, and it's like I can't even really go for a walk around the block. I mean, my back just won't let it happen. So yeah, so that's what I wish. I wish my back would be better and my knees would be better.
If only. If only.
I know.
So the next question we kind of touched on a little bit before, but do you have any other hobbies besides cross-stitch?
Like currently I do a little bit of diamond painting still, not as much. I mean, nowhere near what I was doing, because cross-stitch just kind of took over. But then I've also kind of added in like cross-stitch related, like I'm doing counted canvas now, so I have counted canvas projects, and I just started a bead embroidery project, which I've shown on my channel. So to me, that's kind of all the same thing. As far as like not stitchy related at all, I mean, I have done pottery. I did that. I took pottery classes for like a year and a half before I moved to Anaheim, so not that long ago, and I enjoy it, but it's an expensive hobby. I mean, it's not something that you can just do. And especially not if you don't have room. Like if you have a garage, you could invest in a kiln and invest in a wheel, and it wouldn't be as expensive once you get that equipment. But if you don't have the equipment, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And I've done jewelry making and all kinds of stuff like that. I do know how to knit. I'm not a good knitter, and I haven't done it in years, but yeah, but I mean, like I said, the cross stitch is really like taking a hold, and I don't feel like I'm going to get bored with it.
Yep. It's the same for me because, like I said, I've bought a diamond painting and I didn't even touch it. I don't think these past 2 weeks because I've just been stitching. So it's hard to, I don't know, for me to balance, you know, doing different crafts because I'd just rather be stitching. But yeah, and it's time consuming. So, but yeah, those are all great. The working with your hands, kind of keeping you busy type of hobby. So,
yeah.
Next question. This is a fun one. Is how would your friends describe you?
Well, I asked my brother and sister-in-law and my best friend, Tracy, who I talk about all the time. I asked the three of them. Oh, and the girl that I work with. And so my brother, of course, came back and he said, well, you're very sisterly, but that might only be to me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erin. I would say in general, they said that I'm artistic and creative and intelligent, and they said that I'm shy and kind of reserved. Even though I'm friendly and caring, I am shy and reserved, which is true. People may not realize that from my Flosstube videos because I have to talk, but like if you were in a room with me, and other people were talking, I probably would just sit there and not say anything.
Yeah.
I just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, they said all nice things about me.
That is good. That is good because there are a couple of people that are like, yeah, I can't say what some of my friends said. So that's good that you got all nice things said.
Well, I told them they could be honest, and nobody said anything.
No.
You know, they said all nice
Those
stuff.
are all great, amazing traits anyway.
Yeah.
So the next question is, how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use a hoop, a Q-snap, light, that kind of thing?
I would say my number one go-to is a hoop. I do like hoops, and I like, I don't think they had these like when I was young and like doing the embroidery that I didn't like, but I like the plastic ones that kind of have the join thing, where the
spring ones?
No, I use, sorry.
Very fine.
I use these that have the white.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of like goes into this little trough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, so it's got it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's got a little plastic. Yeah.
So that's what I use most of the time. I use like fake Q snaps, these things that they're not real Q snaps, the ones with the colored corners that I got on Amazon, because I use I have a because they have like a table stand thing that you can put together. So for all of my bigger projects that I want to do two-handed, or if I'm beading or anything like that, I do them when I'm sitting here at my craft desk, and then I put those in the frames. I don't stitch in hand at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I tried because I thought, everybody shows this, and I tried for like 3 stitches. I'm like, nope, this isn't happening. I could do needlepoint in hand, but I'd rather put it on a frame anyway. So
yeah, I just like that the fabric just is taut. It's in the frame. That's what I like. So
yeah. People say like they don't like hoops because they leave marks, and they do, but I don't leave them in there. So and they iron out. So
yeah, there's ways to get the hoop marks out. I know that they do leave a little bit more because I have like the wooden cheap ones that you can get at Joann's that I've used, and they do leave a little bit of a mark, but you like lightly steam it or use I think it's Best Press or whatever they use, something like that. You can kind of get it out, but yeah. But speaking of like the fabric and the marks and stuff like that, do you have a preferred fabric that you use, or do you kind of stitch on anything?
I've gotten to the point where I've kind of I will stitch on anything. Of course, I started with Aida, and I probably only stitched on Aida for like the first 6 months, and I was like super happy with Aida. And then I'm like, well, I want to branch out. So I tried an even weave on like a little Halloween ornament, and I'm like, well, this isn't any harder. And then just like a couple months ago, I tried linen for the first time, and wasn't like a super expensive linen, and you know, I did a teeny project and I liked the project, but I did not really enjoy stitching on the linen. And I'm giving linen another try with my birthday salve that I'm doing, just because it's an opalescent linen and I dyed it and it's so pretty. So I'm trying it again. And it was really hard the first stitching session, but it got easier the second time and everything. It's like 36 count, so that might be why it's hard to do. But linen is probably not going to be my favorite ever, but I will stitch on it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm stuck Aida only. I don't want to try anything else. I don't know if I'm a chicken or if I just have too much. I just.
Well, sometimes it's like I don't want to try new stuff because I don't want to like new stuff and then have to buy new stuff.
Right. I think that's my mentality is I've got a lot of Aida and I'm just going to use my Aida. It works just the same. It's okay.
Aida's easier to find if cheaper.
Yeah.
It's easier to find cheap, or I should say inexpensive Aida. Because I buy most of my fabrics, I will buy like a white or light fabric on eBay and then dye it myself. So I look for like when there's inexpensive, and I guess it's all old. Like I don't know if they even sell all these, you know, MCG textiles, and you know, I don't know because I haven't been doing it long enough to know if this stuff is like, you know, 10 years old or what. But if I'm getting it for $2 for a big piece,
it still turns out pretty when you dye it and use it anyway. So yeah,
fabric doesn't spoil. So
so where is your favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along when you went?
I haven't traveled that much in my life. I've gone to like Scotland and England like 20 years ago. I wasn't stitching then, so obviously I didn't bring anything. I mean, since I started stitching, which is again only just a little over a year, I went to Arizona, and I did bring stitching, and actually I started teaching my 9-year-old niece how to stitch while we were on that trip. And I go visit my brother and sister, you know, a couple of miles down the road, and I take stitching usually when I'm going to be there.
Still traveling, especially in this day and age right now. Still traveling.
But yeah, I usually bring stitching with me if I'm going to be someplace for any length of time. I don't always do it. I mean, I just had a little mini vacation for the weekend. We went to Palm Springs, and I brought 2 projects, and I didn't touch them at all. I also brought a diamond painting, and we worked on that for maybe an hour, me and the kids, but the stitching stayed in my suitcase, but I did bring it.
Yeah, stitching does take a lot of focus. I took stitching with me when I went to stay down at my sister's, and we went to the beach, and I think that's where I messed up on counting. So you really kind of have to be a little focused. But yeah. So what can you not do without for stitching? Like your favorite go-to?
Unfortunately, I can't say anything fun because my real thing I can't do without is the glasses, because I can't, you know, and I have perfect distance vision, but you know, the age thing hit me in my 40s, and my like these are regular reading glasses that I can see my notes and I can see the screen and stuff like that. I can't stitch with these. I wear like double what these are when I'm stitching.
Okay.
Which is it's hard on Zoom because if I'm wearing the stitching glasses, then I can't see the screen. So sometimes I'm there with 2 pairs of glasses and I'm going back and forth. But yeah, it's the glasses. If I don't have the glasses,
I'm the same way. These are readers so that I can see the notes. And I just went and had an eye exam and had to get bifocals because my long distance vision is fine, but I'm tired of flipping the glasses up and down. So I just got bifocals, and I'm like, can't wait till those come in. Make life much easier.
Yeah, I have those for work, but I tend to not take them out of my purse because I need them for work.
Yeah.
There are actually like 3 levels because there's the close, and then the computer, and then nothing for distance. And but I don't like walking around with them. They make me feel kind of like ugh. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping it doesn't do that to me.
I have readers all over my apartment. I mean, my apartment, seriously, it's 400 square feet. It's tiny. And I have probably 20 pairs of glasses all over this place because I have my kitchen pair, and I have the pairs that are on my desk, and I have the pairs by my bed, and I have the pairs in the bathroom. and the ones that I have to stay in their spot. Like I can't move the kitchen ones to my bed, even though it's like maybe 5 feet away. You know, the kitchen ones need to be in the kitchen. So.
Well, that is definitely your favorite go-to then, for sure. So the next question is, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
Like next, like today, or next, like the next thing I'm going to start?
I guess either. Like it's really whatever, you know, you kind of want to work on.
Well, I guess I go in waves as far as what I'm working on my whips, like, you know, and sometimes it's like what I was thinking about during the day when I was bored at work. Like what project was I thinking about? And then that's the one I'll stitch on that night. As far as like what I start next, you know, I'll see something and it just like, it's calling to me, and, you know, I'll kit it up. And I'm trying not to start too much stuff because I really am at that point in my level of whips where it's making me feel a little bit anxious. I guess I'm not, you know, some people will start stuff and they're like, I don't care if I ever finish it, you know, but I do. It's like, I can't start something with the idea that I'm going to die before I finish it. So
no,
I'm at that point.
Yeah, no,
I'm somewhere between 20 and 30, and I need to like definitely not let it get beyond that. So, you know, I have to work on some stuff and get it down, and then I can start. Although I have 2 things I want to start in September. So
yeah, that's the thing, is there's all these months where there's these certain themes, and then you're like, oh, I have to jump in on that. What can I start? I'm right there. It's too many whips. So we are down to the last question, and it is my favorite one, and the most difficult for people apparently. And it is, what is the best thing that has happened to you so far this year?
Okay, well, I'm gonna like say this year is like this, like the last 12 months, not necessarily this calendar year 2020. But aside from like stitching and Flosstube, which really are one of the best things that's happened to me recently, is that I kind of reconnected with my brother and his family back in like September, October. And kind of by fluke, they invited me to go with them. There was a family bar mitzvah in Arizona, and you know, we were kind of chatting. I went to like one of the kids' birthday parties, and they were like, oh, are you gonna go, you know, to Arizona? And I'm like, of course not. I can't afford it. I can't afford a hotel. I can't afford to, you know, whatever. And they kind of called me the next day and were like, do you want to come with us? We'll get your hotel room for you. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, we want you to come. And my brother and I were super close growing up, but you know, when he got married, you know, he had his own life with his family, and you know, he had some kind of like not good stuff happened. They had a pregnancy loss, and so there was a lot of more emotional stuff that happened for several years. And then I was married and whatever, and then I went through this divorce. So there was this whole period of time where we were not that we were estranged, but we just weren't close like we used to be. But when we went on that trip to Arizona, the 3 of us, you know, my brother and my sister-in-law and I, were able to like really talk and really realize how much we enjoy each other's company. And so I've been able to, in the past year, whatever, I mean, I'm over at their house every other weekend. And I mean, except for when COVID hit and we didn't see each other for 3 or 4 months, but I mean, that's just enriched my life so much, because I have niece and nephews now. I mean, I had them before, but they didn't really know me very well. And now I'm like, you know, now they're calling me at night to tell me something exciting that happened to them. And I get to be, you know, like the favorite aunt, and, you know, just stuff like that. So that's really been the best thing, is that I've had reconnection with my family and I don't feel so alone.
That's good. That's great. I'm glad that you were able to reconnect, and that you're not so alone, and you get some time with your nieces and nephews. I think I watched your video when you talked about the trip that you guys just went on. So that was pretty neat. I'm glad you had a good time.
And it was fun. And they're just, I have to say, they're very generous to me. And, you know, I mean, the last several years has kind of been a lesson in, you know, I get by with a little help from my friends, because that really, you know, it's been necessary. And I'm very lucky that I've had people who have been there for me emotionally and financially, and, you know, but yeah, so unfortunately, like, my best friend doesn't live anywhere near me. She's in Pittsburgh now.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although now we've learned about Zoom, so, you know, I think even after the pandemic's over, we're going to keep doing Zoom calls. I think that's something that everybody kind of learned about, you know, by necessity.
Yeah, Zoom, I never even thought about it until it hit, and I'm just, you know, I'm like, there's all these other stitchers, and I mean, I know there's Flosstube, but it's not real time, you know, you don't stitch together kind of thing, and Zoom has been amazing. So yeah, definitely would keep it up, you know, after the whole pandemic's done, whenever that is. But yeah, Zoom's amazing. Makes people not feel alone. That's the great thing.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's a couple of my subscribers who have, you know, messaged me and said, you know, I'm alone or I'm disabled or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, message me, I'll write back to you, you know. I mean, you don't have to be alone.
Yep. Yep. I'm the same way. That's why I started the Zooms, because I wanted all of us just to be together and interact, and gonna continue it till who knows when. Whatever. Love it. So yeah, so that is the end of the interview. It was a lot of fun. We got to learn a lot about you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I feel so honored, like I'm part of like a really exclusive and cool club.
But the interviews are a lot of fun and people enjoy them. So I just appreciate you taking time out and opening up and being so honest in this interview too. And people are going to love your channel. They really are.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
So we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye-bye.